Hey, what's poppin', my family? Welcome, champions. It's your girl Shanice. Welcome back to my YouTube channel where you already know, my friend, we live a faith-inspired what lifestyle. Today, I am talking to you all about Esther. Everything that has to do with the Esther Fast. How did it come about? My God, who is Esther? And why are we out here naming fasts after people, right? So we're going to talk all about that and how you should maneuver through a Esther fast. And we're going to talk about how Esther, she was able to turn a complete decree on the land. We know when there's a decree on the land where there's a word that the king has stamped with his ring to say, yo, this is final. You know that it has to happen. Whatever decree is given, it must be followed. Whatever law he has put in place must be followed. And you're going to see how fasting was able to shift that with wisdom that came straight from God on how Esther could maneuver and change back the decree that was spoken over the Jews and over her family. So Esther 1, it talked about King Xerxes. He was married to Vashti. The king decided, yo, I'm gonna have a party. I'm gonna invite all the other kings all over. He ended up drinking tons of wine, being high in the spirits. He just drank a lot of wine, friend. And so he wanted Vashti to come out, which was the queen before. And Vashti was like, nah, she refused to come. It's super profound that many kings, they have wise counsel. So he sought the wise counsel and they're like, nah, Vashti got to go. Because if Vashti starts acting up, then guess what? All the other women in the provinces are going to act up as well. And next thing we know, we're going to have a group of women that's just acting up out here, doing whatever they want to do. So chapter 2, the king's men, his homeboys, all decided, you know, I see that you're sad. Now that you come to who you are and you're not, still filled with wine, you're seeing that you kind of miss Vashti. So they said, why don't we do this? Why don't we get in all the provinces that you're over? Let's go and get the beautiful young virgin woman. Let's go get all of them. Let them come back to the king. Let us get them ready for you. Get them dressed. There's a season of preparation that they have to go through for 12 months. Bring them to us. Let them go through it. And any person that you find, any queen that you find, this will be your process in which you're able to find your next woman, your next queen, right? So while they went out, there was a guy by the name of Mordecai. Mordecai came from Jerusalem as well, where he was from Bethlehem, the tribe of Benjamin, actually. They were all from Jerusalem. They came over because they were captured. They came over. You have Mordecai. Mordecai is a Jew. Mordecai ended up raising his uncle's daughter, who we come to know as Esther. Esther's Jewish name is Hadash, but to cover her identity, because she was now going to be chosen to be taken into the king's palace, he wanted to protect her identity. So Esther followed the rules and the command that Mordecai gave her, as she did when she was young. He raised her, he adopted her, and she became his daughter that he raised, right? And so in chapter 3, in chapter 2, Mordecai overheard while he was at the gate. I figured he's always looking out for Esther, making sure she's good. Like, yo, this is a woman that was entrusted to me and that I've been taking care of. I want to make sure she's okay. He overheard 2 of the king's officials getting ready to betray and go against the king. And he reported that to Esther. Esther told the king, and it was true. In their place in chapter 3, Haman, the king raised him up to be over all the princes. And one of the decrees that the king had, again, was that everybody, if they saw Haman, they needed to go ahead and bow down. Mordecai was like, you are not my God. That is what you are not. So Mordecai did not bow down, right? And so because Mordecai did not bow down or reverence Haman, he decided that he was going to go to the king. When he had that opportunity, he went in front of the king and said, you know what, king, there's a group of people out here. They don't follow your laws. They don't do anything that you said. AKA, Haman was just in his feelings. He didn't like the fact that they weren't bowing down to him. And you are just not some people's God. That's just not how it rolled. So he told the king, you know what, king, I'm going to say that let's go ahead and kill these people. Let's get rid of them because they're different people doing a separate thing and they're not following your laws. And on top of that, if you allow me to send people out there to kill them, I'm going to give 10,000 of silver to the treasury. And the king said, nah, keep your money, but I'm definitely going to sign this decree. So the decree went out for all the Jews to die just because this man was upset that people weren't bowing down to him. So in chapter 4, and this is how the Esther fast came about. Mordecai was like, yo, Esther, the king found you to be favorable. He loved you more than the other woman. Girl, you stepped it up. Like, he loved you. And that's the story. If you read 1, 2, 3, you'll see that Esther, she found favor not only with the king. Most importantly, she found favor with the king, but she found favor even with the king's officials, the king's right-hand man, the eunuchs. She found favor with them, and she was able to be prepared because there was a 12-month, and I'll get into that because I want to also, in the next few days, just focus on the things when it comes to preparations for exactly what God has called you to do in this world. So I really don't want to focus on that too much. I want to give you and get down to the nitty-gritty of what the Esther fast is and how we got to this point. So Mordecai, he went to Esther, said, yo, this is what is going on. And when Esther found out, she was grieved. She's like, I can't believe this is happening to my people. And then Mordecai was like, girl, you got to do something. Like, you're just not in the king's place just to be sitting there looking pretty, girl. And Esther is like, yo, you know that nobody goes to the king. Nobody can go in there. If you go in the inner courts without the king calling you, friend, it's going to be trouble. You will die because that is a rule. That is a law. Unless when you go in there, the king takes his scepter and he puts it over you and welcomes you to talk to him. Otherwise, from that, you're going to die. Esther ended up becoming queen in Vashti's place because Vashti she didn't come to the king. And it was just Esther's time because that was God's providence. That was God's rule and way of doing things, right? And so Mordecai said in chapter 4, verse 13, he said, then Mordecai commanded Esther, think not with thyself that thou shalt escape in the king's house more than all the Jews. So he was saying, girl, now you telling me you scared? Now you allowing fear? First of all, if the Jews are going to die out here outside the king's headquarters, you too, don't forget who you are. Don't forget, girl, you a part of us. Don't forget your heritage because you got a new name, right? And so I love this part. In chapter 4, verse 14, Mordecai still petitioned her. And I love it so much because he just gave her the real nitty gritty. We need people in our life that's not only going to speak truth into us, that's not going to allow us to just take, all right. So chapter 4, verse 14, it says, for if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place, but you and your father's house will perish. And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this. And this is the NIV version because I thought it was just so clear. He told Esther, girl, this is not the time to be afraid. But let me also tell you something. Just in case you thought God was waiting on you and that he's going to sit here, we as his people, as his Jewish people, he's going to find somebody else from a different place to come and give us relief. But don't think that you and your father's house is going to be included because you have the opportunity. How many times do we have the opportunity to change our family's lineage, to do something extraordinary, to go beyond the limits? Yet we allow fear to get in the way. And we need people like Mordecai who are going to say, listen, friend, if you don't want to do it, somebody else is going to rise up and take your position. So continue to be afraid if you want to. And I love when he says, and who knows, but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this. And I want you to ponder that. Maybe you've come to this season in your life where you're in a specific position when you're called to reach back, to look back and pull your family forward, your friends forward, or someone forward. Maybe for such a time as this is why you're in position. And I want to petition you that for such a time, you weren't meant to be born in the 70s or 60s. You were meant to be born for such a time as this, because what God is going to use you to do. And so with that petition, it really stirred up Esther, like, yo, God can use anybody. If I choose that, I don't want to do what God wants me to do, yet I still love, Mordecai shows God's grace, like, girl, but I called you. And in 15, Esther calls a fast. And this is where the fast really drops in. Esther chapter 4, verses 15. She said, Mordecai, here's the instructions. You and the Jews that are in this city, in the Citadel, it says Citadel, the Citadel of Susa, gather the Jews, and you guys pray and fast for me for 3 days. Don't drink anything. Don't eat anything. Fast and pray for me. I'm going to go back here, me and all my maidens. We're going to go ahead and we're going to fast as well for those 3 days, because whether or not I die, or I don't care what's going to happen, in these next 3 days, I am going to go to the king. And if I die, I die. Esther realized that, some things are worth going after. There's a scripture and a story in the Bible where the people could have decided, like, they robbed everything we have. We don't have anything. We can sit here in this position that we're in and die, or we can go and try to find something and die there. But instead of dying, they went and they found treasure. So I'm going to tell you, why allow fear to cause you to die? If you die, you die. Go after that thing that God called you to do. And more than likely, you're not going to die because you're trusting in him. And so Mordecai went and he told them, and they carried it out. And this is where I'm going to stop the story, because in the next couple of days, I'm really going to talk more about how the story unraveled. But I want you to know that why Esther fast? What is the Esther fast? She fasted for 3 days. No food, no water. Tough, right? No food and no water. Why? One, there was an issue at hand. The Jews, there was a specific date on the 13th of the 12th month, in which that 12th month, I believe, was called Adar. And in that 12th month, Haman went because he felt like, these people aren't bowing down to me. Shame, like, you're not about to shame me. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to use my role and my agenda to harm you because of what I need to feel needed. And so she saw that there was a problem at hand. There was a specific date already decreed for these people, the 13th day of the 12th month of Adar, for the Jewish people to be demolished. And not only that, they were telling the people, kill them and take whatever they have, gold, silver, whatever they have for your own possession. Number 2, Esther had wise counsel. She knew Mordecai was in her corner. He raised her from, she was young when her parents died. And it allowed God's perspective to come in. Like, girl, don't forget that we are a part of God's great plan. He chooses to use us as part of his great plan. We need him. He technically doesn't need us. He just chooses to include us. Number 3, this time was revealing who Esther was. She understood that she couldn't just focus on her own ability and what she can do. She knew that this, I'm staring death in my face. And without the right strategy, without seeking God for counsel, without having people standing in the gap with me, I'm not going to have the right strategy. People's life, millions, thousands of Jews were going to die if I didn't get strategy and put myself in a position to sustain from my modern diet in order to hear exactly what God has, because God has a plan for every problem. Come on now. He has a solution for every problem that you're facing. She needed God's favor. She had already found the favor of the king, the king's men, everybody, but she needed God's favor more than ever, because this one required God to move. I love it. Number 4, Esther. She was specific in her fast. When you're fasting, you need to be specific. What are you fasting from? What are you calling and for how long? She was specific, and I love that. That's a leader. Specific, direct, and able to give a vision. He says, write out the vision, make it plain so anybody that reads it can run it out. The vision was plain, direct, specific, that Mordecai could run and go tell a whole group of people, and it would not be lost. The leader also fasts, not just the people. I love it that Esther had an expectation. She said, yo, in these 3 days I'm going to go, but I'm expecting God to talk. I'm expecting that whatever God tells me is going to be exactly what I needed. She went into the fast having an expectation. When you go into your fast, have expectations. Why are you fasting? You should know why. What's at hand? What are you struggling with? What are you going through? So a few things that I would recommend if you are going on the Esther fast, my recommendation is because you aren't eating or drinking anything, you are going to feel weak. So I would recommend, and honestly, pray. That's why I always ask you guys to pray. Make sure you're being led by the Holy Spirit. I've done the Esther fast where I didn't eat anything, I didn't drink anything, but on the third day I did need to drink something because I was feeling weak. Why was I feeling weak? And this is my other reason why about the fast and things you should not do while you're on it. Do not exercise, right? Do not do heavy exercise and heavy workout. Yes, I was keeping it simple, but yeah, it was still too much because my body was without food and water. And the minute I drank water, I was good. You know, I was doing so good. Just that last day, getting 2 workouts in for the day, even though they were low minimum, it just was not wise. So I was just grateful that God just give me that wisdom, like it's okay to drink water. That's why I think it's okay, to pray and ask God what to do. If you want to withhold from food, physical food, drink water though. I would recommend that, and don't do any form of exercise. And I will also recommend not getting yourself into a situation where you're going to be up and down all over the road. You don't want to be weak in that essence. And then when you do come off the fast, I recommend that you take it easy, because you may be driving, you're just going to get tired until you're able to build back yourself up, get the right foods back in. Again, consult your doctor. Your girl is not a doctor, although I look like one, right? I went to school for that, started off, but then I just had a heart for something different. And who knows, maybe in the future, for such a time as this, right? So I love you guys. I hope that you take everything, and I'm so excited to talk about Esther some more, because I think she's powerful. I think she's phenomenal. I think she overcame so many adversities just like me and you, and I believe we can take so much from her books. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It's your girl Shanice, and welcome to my YouTube channel.